Welcome to this week's Bhandwagon Podcast. Before you watch or listen to this week's episode, I need you to do me a favor. If you liked any of the content that I've produced over the years and you still don't follow or subscribe to the channel, please do so. Your help is immeasurable for me getting bigger guests and hopefully getting those great interviews ready for you. So please, thank you. Welcome to the episode of the Bhandwagon Podcast, and today I am joined by a man of many talents, many talents. I first got to see him on Instagram. You definitely would have seen his artwork. He takes traditional South Indian, Asian art and digitalizes it. He does so many other things, commissioned by everybody. Anyone who needs commissioning needs to see this guy. Without further ado, welcome, Viks. Kainth.
How you doing, man?
How you doing?
It's a pleasure.
I'm just going to say, I know that's a little bit awkward, that handshake.
No, it's fine.
We're trying to master it around and get it going, but I will work on it. So it's nothing personal that I'm leaning over like that. So there you go.
It feels like a proper, solid,
That's it. It's out of love.
Yeah.
So don't think it's being rude, but I'm really stretching over here. And if I stretch too much, my bed pops out, so I'm not
I
really...
can relate.
Yeah, and it's very hot today, guys, so
it is.
It's a bit of a rarity that the guest and I are wearing T-shirts, so there you go. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I know you've been on a few podcasts before, and so I feel a little bit comfortable because sometimes when I do have a guest, it's one of they've never been on one before as well, so you kind of get the sketch of things as well.
I get it.
So how you been anyway?
I'm good, man. I've been busy. I've been traveling a lot, driving a lot today. It's been a long day, but it's been obviously a long weekend. My weekend sometimes blends into my week as well, but it's all part of the game. I have freedom as a self-employed artist to do and be where I need to be. So yeah, it's good, man. I'm blessed.
You know, I've said that you're a man of many talents, and we'll get into that. How do you kind of find the time then to balance it? Because you're good in each section in what you're doing then, but you've got to get that kind of work-life balance within there, home life around it, and then give that dedication to each of those arts without diluting the expertise within there.
Yeah.
Is there kind of a formula that you've kind of grown up with?
I don't think I've ever had a formula of it because I just kind of go with the flow, and I don't mean that in the sense I just don't think about what I'm going to do. I don't plan too much. I kind of like it has to feel genuine to me. If I end up sleeping at a certain time, I sleep and I wake up, I get what I need to get done. Sometimes some certain nights when I'm not doing artwork and I feel like making music, I'll make music. If I have commissions on, of course, I'll get those done as well. So there's the balance sometimes goes out of the window depending on how busy commissions get and life in general. But I'm trying to make time for everything that I can and not overwork myself sometimes. So yeah.
So I saw you recently.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll let you into a little bit of a story. Not a great story, but it is a story nonetheless. So if anybody's listening to this while driving, it's not too exciting.
Yeah.
But I was coming. I don't go down to London a lot, and I know before what you're going to say. Anything south of Oxford or Blenheim Palace or that designer outlet, in MacArthur Glen. Yeah. I class that as London. Okay. And that's my ignorance.
Fair enough.
So I'm going to London, but I was going to Barking.
Yeah.
And I see you at the Gurdwara there.
Yeah.
And I'll bump into you. Because on the list as we were driving up, I was writing down all the guests who I've got coming on or planning.
Yeah.
And your name was one of the first ones that came up.
Yeah.
So to see you that day, I know when we said hello, that's why I was a little bit perplexed because it was kind of fate playing its way.
Yeah.
And even this happening, for you to come down into Birmingham or West Brom, and actually from a Monday night saying, yeah, are you around this
It
day?
was very last
and
minute.
you say, yeah. I was like, what?
Yeah,
This very alien concept there.
Yeah.
I don't know what the question is out of this, but I'm just getting to the point of one of the first time when I saw you was on social media, and you actually went live. I think you went live, and you were showing the work that you do. Is that a common practice that artists are they more secretive in terms of how they produce their work, or are they fairly open? Because you're really open. Is that is that a done thing?
I think it depends on the nature of the job. Like depending on what company I've been commissioned by, whether it's a bit more low key than others, and often if it is a commission for someone, I wouldn't show that on live streams or anything like that, like to show like what I'm working on, the procedure or anything like that. If it's personal work, absolutely. Like I'll happily do that to engage with my audience and show them my process, kind of what I do, and talk to them as well at the same time, because I feel like that's important. Otherwise, I don't want to kind of be that artist that does hide away and just keeps everything to himself. I'm very much quite natural with my following and audience, just to kind of like be like, hey, look, I am here, I'm working on things, I'm not just AWOL. But yeah, like let's say if there was a commission like for more of a private client, there's NDAs involved sometimes, and also that confidentiality. I'm not going to show someone's photo or face on a live stream to random people, kind of thing. So I think it depends on the nature of the job, but I quite enjoy doing live streams. I don't do them as much as I used to, because I do think that there's only certain amount of engagement that you can get out of it. But it's nice to do it now and then, because I feel like it's always nice to introduce myself to new followers and people that probably don't know exactly what I do and how I do it.
So your pathway into art, then how did you kind of fall into that?
I think it's always been part of my journey. Like when I was younger, doing GCSEs and A levels, it was always the subject that I loved most, and especially when drawing and just sketching. Portraits, very much like observational lifestyle stuff. I enjoyed that a lot. Kind of went into the digital stuff when just playing around with Photoshop. This is a long time ago now. I'm 32. Back then I was 12 years old, just messing around with software.
So you were messing around with Photoshop at the age of 12?
Yeah. Like a very old version of Photoshop that, probably you can't do the stuff that you can do with it now.
Yeah.
But I loved experimenting with that kind of stuff, and eventually from my A levels, moving into university, I actually came to Birmingham for university. I had to go through a clearing because a lot of the universities that I wanted to go to, which was in London, part of UAL, they all declined me, and I don't know why. And I was told eventually it was because of my portfolio, the lack of variety of my work, and that a lot of it was digital. They didn't like that. So I was very lucky and grateful that I got into Birmingham, even though it was far from home.
Yeah.
I think that was still part of something that I had to experience my journey, because there were a lot of things that I learned whilst being here. I was near Birmingham City University, Millennium Point, and here for three years of my life after I did a foundation course. So I was a little bit behind, but the foundation course helped me kind of like open my my avenues a little bit, and kind of
So were you combining both of the social media world and your art at the same time?
At that time, less so. More so now, because I mean Instagram is like my main platform. So a lot of my work is, when people see my work, I don't really direct them anywhere else apart from that's my portfolio. That's where you get to know me and the stuff that I do. But at the time, I think it was more so just me figuring out where I'm going. But I knew art was definitely the direction I was going in, because I did art and design at university, and unfortunately I got a third, and I'm very.
Why is that unfortunately?
You know what? Because I don't know why, but in the Asian community, there's this whole thing about like status in education, and especially if you're doing what you love, people would question why did you get a third? Why didn't you get a first? Especially like, look, my parents said the same thing, and it's a hard one, because I don't ever believe that you can be judged in terms of like your art style, especially when you're in a mixed group of like a class like that have animators, photographers, videographers, and fine artists, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I feel like it doesn't kind of like stop anyone from pushing further in the future. Like that third that I got doesn't mean that I can do any less than anyone else.
Yeah.
So I think that's a judgment based on
It's based on the kind of stereotyping.
Yeah.
Because
there's tutors, etc. involved.
Yeah,
That's
okay,
their
yeah.
perception of my work at the time.
I think the higher education argument is getting really difficult now, especially where there's so many different industries, business owners,
Yeah.
so TikTokers, all these kind of influencers. That game has
Yeah.
kind of really changed that dynamic, really.
Absolutely, yeah.
And if you're able to have a skilled vocational qualification,
Yeah.
plasterers or electricians, that's getting harder and harder at this point. So like,
Yeah.
it does get hard, especially with the younger generation when you're talking to them and that, and you
Yeah.
say, like,
And
it's
now
not the be all. I think we were sold a lie that that you go to school, get your GCSEs, go to university, get your degree.
no one asks me about uni. I tell them,
Okay.
because that's the thing though. Like after it's all done, like said and done, no one really like thinks about what you did at uni or
Yeah.
what degree level you got, whatever it is. And nowadays, like for certain, I think jobs and careers, yes, it makes sense to go to uni, but for art and creative careers, I think less so. And I tend to tell people this very openly that I think for the amount that you're paying now these days, it's not worth doing because I feel like it will hold you back. I felt like it held me back in a sense that I could have done more exhibitions, I could have had more opportunities whilst if I didn't go to uni. For the people I met and the places like the things I learned about myself as well, like going through certain art blocks and kind of like struggles whilst being at uni, I think that's the reason why I was there. We had like repeat lectures, and I think we were guinea pigs.
So like the time from when you're coming out of uni and then like you get a piece like this. So guys, for those who are listening, there's a piece of art that is called Aja Sonia, inspired by Bali Jagpal. And when Bali is still one of the most requested guests that I get, and we've worked on a few things, but it's got Aja Sonia on the stereo here.
Yeah.
And I've actually sent him the evidence and video of this as well. So I'm going to put it in front of my face so you can just see it from there.
I love it.
But if you've got this piece of work, how do you kind of conceptualize this and then get it to this format? How long does that take you to do that?
The process and time varies, but like aesthetic-wise, like there's a reason why I've kind of gone into this style.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's probably the best way. Like, how did you naturally fall upon this style then?
The thing is, I don't feel like it happened naturally, but in life there's transition points, and my work was never always this. It used to be celebrity portraits, black and white stuff. It used to be Mughal artwork, which I still kind of dabble in now and then. No, digital.
Digital, yeah.
But it's something I researched a lot and explored. And that kind of made me go into the Maharanis because a lot of the time when I researched Mughal artwork, there were females portrayed not wearing very many clothes, serving men. And I think like as growing up, I've had so many female friends that tell me stories and like things of how they feel in certain situations and stuff. And I wanted to change that narrative of Mughal art, but into the modern age of showing how females of our day, how they feel and what they experience, and stories to be told. So there were a few things that happened, and I feel like this style that I'm at now, I'm probably falling out of it eventually soon, but I love the feeling of that retro nostalgic aesthetic that very much vibes with the Indian style as well. I've got like Arabic elements and Oriental elements as well, but this I feel like back in the day our parents and elders can relate to this kind of style, because certain things look like food trucks and DeLorean interiors, and you got your old school Pepsi,
Yeah,
you know,
the 80s.
glass
It's very
coat.
Back to the Future kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And these kind of elements of that synthwave feeling, where I've got like as you see, like Hiranja in this like 80s diner, American style car park, just dancing away. Just that feel good notion of telling a story that you know, like was told to us back in the day, but for future generations to understand it and see it. So I always say kind of like I'm here to somewhat illustrate for the future, so newer generations can, you know.
So that
coming
fusion
generations
of
can
kind of
understand
old and new, but even with the technology as well, there's
Yeah.
that fusion as well, isn't
Yeah,
it?
because I've got this traditional aspect, but I always thought about how I want to take that traditional feeling and modernize it. So everything is on our phones and iPads and screens these days. So to really like elevate it and move it into this I don't call it a new age now, but it's the current age of where we're at with culture and the style and what we're used to seeing. So yeah, like really like taking it into that.
So how many hours would it take you to do a piece like this?
I would say something like that now, because I'm quite swift with my kind of workflow. It still doesn't take. It's still not quick, even though I'm using digital formats. I'd say anything from 3 to 5 days.
Wow.
If I really need to bang something out in like from beginning to finish, I could probably get it done in about a couple of days, without distractions.
So yeah, the distractions is the hard part, isn't it? As well, you know, I just got distracted with something daft, and I was like, oh, that's left-hand drive. You know what I mean?
You know, there's little things that people pick out on.
Yeah.
Like it's brilliant, but I love that, because see, that's something that you might pick up on that someone else might not. You know,
There was a game called Outrun.
Yeah,
You know, like
you're
that
getting that
arcade
vibe with
machine.
the,
I'm
with the
getting that
sunset and the
Outrun,
palm
but
trees. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
I love it.
So you know what, as you, I think from the inspiration that you've just talked a little bit about it from there, I remember seeing some of your pieces of work where I think they were a little bit. What was the most let's start this way. Yeah.
Controversy.
Yeah.
I
What
love
was the
that controversy.
Yeah. What was the most controversial post with it?
There's a few. I mean, some a bit raunchier than others.
Yeah.
And let's be real, that's just what it is. I think sometimes that's either religion, when religion gets involved, or a bit of exposure. And then female empowerment also sets people off. I don't know why, but it just.
So okay. So let's work it out in terms of engagement. So you get the most amount of engagement, good or bad, when you're trying to show female empowerment compared to the others, or is it?
I think it's a mixture. It depends. Sometimes there's pieces that I feel like will really pop, but they don't. And now I think for me, now when uploading a new piece, and whether it's powerful or not, to me, it's personal to me, and I love that I've done it, but I go into it without expectation now, because the social game is somewhere where you can really get stuck in it, and I don't want to create for that reason. I want to create for myself and also for the people around me, that it can mean something for them, to represent them, you know, because I think for someone to see themselves in an artwork and an art piece and feel represented as if they're understood, and also like it's their story, I think that's more important than trying to please a somewhat sometimes engaged and sometimes not engaged audience. But I would do it regardless, you know, and especially for pieces like what you see here. I've definitely had a mixture of, you know, kind of like comments on certain aspects of them, and you know, certain things that are right or wrong. But I welcome that.
Which was the most controversial picture you done for you?
So a piece called Let's Piece Together Our World, which is a portrayal of 5 gods holding hands, and because it portrays peace, and I think this whole notion of religious figures being portrayed, it set people off left, right, and center. And this piece has gone like to the ends of the world that I don't even know anymore, because I get sent it left, right, and center. But it's a powerful piece, and I think it's a piece that I didn't expect to go that far. And I think for myself, seeing that it gets so many like different views, and trust me, I've gotten so many negative views from it as well.
So you're getting abuse
Yeah.
for promoting peace and harmony in the world.
Yeah. There's even artworks that, like, let's say, so I remember doing a Maharaja and Maharani, where the Maharaja's giving the Maharani a flower. It was for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And the amount of like proper like extremist views that I got
What?
saying a Maharaja should never be given giving a flower to a Devi or something like that.
Ask him to go to Nando's.
Yeah.
On the same day. Trust me.
They probably would.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
So that's the day when the guy uses his Nando's reward.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. And this is the thing though, I can't please everyone, and I realise that. So now I've gotten to a point where I very much promote that be fearless, like especially to other artists, the fearless factor and freedom that we get in what we get to portray, we should own that, you know. And now, like when there's been pieces like another controversial one, Jori Jori Jupke Jupke, which was a portrayal of a woman like kind of like smoking, and these butterflies are like raised,
I saw that
and
one.
there's roses on fire.
Yeah.
She's kind of just got her legs showing with stretch marks. Women really appreciated this piece because they felt understood. Because there's always this notion of what is expected of females in our community, of like you have to look like this in front of uncles and auntia, and you have to be happy, and you have to dress a certain way, you have to make roti, you have to make jar for them and everything like that, you know.
So the person in the photo doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But the portrayal of the visualization, and people kicking off about that.
Yeah. But also a lot of appreciation for it.
Yeah.
You know, so mixed views are inevitable. That's going to happen because I tend to understand now that like there's people that are going to love the artwork, people that are going to hate it, and people that won't care. You know, they won't give it a second look because it's got nothing to do with them, or they don't have an opinion, which is absolutely fine. You know, so yeah, I think for the sake of creating artwork that relates to people is what's more important than just doing it for the sake of it.
So your art's gone kind of around the world. When did like a celeb or something like that take note of one of your first pieces?
There's a couple of times this has happened, and don't get me wrong, I think there's others as well, but two of the biggest. When I was back when I was doing celebrity portraits of hip hop artists and rap artists and stuff like that, actors and actresses. This was a whole black and white series, and it was Ice Cube who gave me one of my first kind of like reposts. Back when Instagram was such a different platform.
Yeah, and to get a repost then it was a big deal.
Yeah. And so Ice Cube was probably one of my biggest pushes first. And then later on down the line, when I started doing the digital raw portraits of Maharanis and Maharajas, I did them of people like Will Smith and Ariana Grande and Paul Chowdhury, people that I knew as well personally, like people that I respected in doing something that was special and individual to them. I call them like they're game changers and very iconic people. I didn't expect it, but Lily Singh gave me a repost as well, like not even just on her story, but an actual page like repost. And honestly, I woke up at like 6 a.m.
Your phone's going ballistic.
But again, I didn't expect that to happen, and she didn't have to do that. For me though, it was such a beautiful feeling because I got to reply to like 200 plus DMs and just say thank you, you know, for showing that appreciation. So yeah, and now I can kind of just DM and I know she'll see something if I repost that piece or something. But yeah, just because I represented that person with respect and that genuine kind of like appreciation was shown in return. Yeah.
Do you get the opposite if you did that with a celeb? Has anyone said like, yo, what you doing?
No, it's just sometimes it won't get seen or noticed.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just the case.
I mean, that's the game though as well. I remember when you did the Gurdas Man.
Yeah.
That was, you know, for me when I saw that, and it wasn't just a small piece. It was on the screen. It looked huge.
It was literally his whole stage production, like the screens that were there, and even for myself.
So that must have been what, 30-meter screen stage, huge. If that, 30-meter plus.
Yeah.
And to design that way, so when you design it that way, obviously you got commissioned to do that piece of work.
Yeah.
did you have to take in consideration the staging in order to get the size, or are you still able to kind of do it in your way and kind of stretch it out?
All I needed to know was dimensions of screens, and I always create my artwork.
But that was moving, right? Was that?
It was a little bit of movement, a little bit of glows and stuff like that, a bit of parallaxing and backgrounds moving and stuff like that. So it wasn't like too much, but also what was amazing about that is that I didn't have my name anywhere on those screens, but the amount of people, one of the first people to tag me in like when they were at the show was Harpscore, and she already knows we're cool, we go way back, and people knew it was my work without even my name being there, which for me was a big statement.
So how did they get in contact? How did Gurdasman get in contact with you to do that piece of it?
So Punjab 2000 firstly gave me the opportunity to said, look, Gurdasman's coming down, and do you want to do like a bit of a promo piece for him, just as a like let's say like a time lapse of me creating an artwork of him? I was like, yeah, cool. That was just off my own back. I was like, safe, cool. They've got the link. And then from that, his management got in touch with me because they saw it. And for now 2 years running, I did artwork for his stage production, which was huge. And I think from that and people seeing that, even myself seeing it, it was just a huge shock factor. But also, I also got to give him artwork in person as well. So these opportunities are there. And honestly, that feeling of meeting a legend like that, especially being able to tell my dad that I got to do that. Of course, his response was, "Why didn't we get to meet him?"
Yeah, why didn't we get to? Yeah, where's our ticket to it? Yeah.
But yeah, blessed feeling. You know, like stuff like this happens, and.
But do you get a chance? Like, I was just going to follow up now.
Yeah.
Sorry, just cut you there. But like, you've been commissioned by Naomi Campbell, a supermodel, world famous, isn't it?
Yeah.
When do you get to kind of sit back and reflect on it? You know what I mean? Because we live in a world where it's funny because I was even talking at work and stuff, like you're living deadline to deadline, and when you kind of sit back and say to have a chance to reflect, I personally feel uncomfortable. Yeah. You know, like the word gratitude. Yeah. Like the understanding for me, the word gratitude, I've got it wrong. Yeah. And reflecting back of what you've achieved and what you've done, I find that arrogant for me. Do you get a chance? And I'm saying I've got my definition wrong of it. Because that's just the way it is. Do you have a chance to look back and reflect and say how far your journey, what you've done so far?
I think out of being modest, I sometimes underestimate what I've already done. You know, like I can tell people that I've worked and been commissioned for by you said, Naomi Campbell, Marvel and Disney Plus. Having those names alongside my name is something I would never have expected to be able to tell people.
Hold on, Marvel and Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So they've contacted you to do any particular films or any forthcoming?
A couple of years ago, I was commissioned to do Miss Marvel, just a piece to promote the series on Netflix. Sorry, not Netflix, Disney Plus. Yeah. And it came out of nowhere. So Marvel and Disney Plus, they have these sub-production teams that reach out to artists or creators to.
Because I see that Boss Logic. Yeah.
Similar to that. Yeah. There was a company that followed me called Product of Culture, and they got in touch. They get given a budget and say, promote our new show that's coming out. But yeah, it was huge. Just even
because I'm sure, and I'm gonna butcher this, but I'm sure I watched Spider-Man 2 in the Multiverse. I'm sure there was some element, with some styles were a little bit. I'm sure the influence, like I've seen some of this, especially some of your Maharaja Maharani work. It did, when they moved to India. Yeah. I thought there was elements in there which they utilised a bit of your style.
You know what? It's not even that. I can't even call it my style, because that style you can't really copyright. Yeah. But there were amazing artists that worked on those series and shows and those movies, because I did some research on it. Like every frame or different scene is done by a different artist. I haven't worked on those, and I'd love to work on one of those in the future, because I think it's such an epic thing to just like get involved in. And also like Spider-Man is like every person's childhood hero, you know, like to be involved in a project like that would be epic.
But that changed a lot of cinematography for me in that as well. You know, that
because it's all animation, and
the way that it was
vibrant,
done, and the way that it was done, the starting of each of the films, was really unique, especially in that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Ninja Turtles. I know this because I have to go with my children.
Yeah.
But I do watch.
Don't lie, you're a bit of a geekhead as well.
You know, every comic books. That's why I can stop you there. I go, hold on a second. Like these guys have been contacting you. You know, you do see this new style where even like the Pixar stuff is kind of moving away now and going into this animation.
Yeah.
I mean, things like just finish off your bit that you said. Who else have kind of contacted you and who you work for?
Yeah, it's. I mean, you know, one of the most exciting things about being an artist is the unexpected opportunities. Like I could get a call now or tomorrow saying, "Oh, we want you on this project," or "We want to commission you for, designing our truck or designing a new brand T-shirt or something like that." You know, whatever it is, but it's that's the excitement factor because there is the big factor of the unknown. So one of the more recent ones was me getting to meet Shub and present him with a Maharaja piece of himself. And I know he's seen the piece before, but it's like I got in there first, which was sick because I went and met him up a bit of an undisclosed location with his management, and it was great. Like such a humble meeting, and some of these opportunities. Again, that was like I had less than 24 hours to get that piece printed for him because I was given a specific time, and I had to just make it happen. I was like, this is just a moment that I have to make like a reality, you know.
So the actual making of this, you have to buy the resources or go to special places to get it done?
I have my contacts of like printing, like last minute printing. If I had to get it done, then people pull through for me, which is great. And I'm very much like I'd say I'm decently connected to get things done last minute if I had to. And if not, I would have made it happen somehow, you know. So yeah, that's a blessing in terms of like the contacts and people that I've met throughout my career, and people that are willing to help me when those kind of things happen.
Two threats.
Yeah.
AI and people copying your style. How much do they play on your mind?
I'm not worried about AI. AI has been around for a long time. People don't realize, but it has. It's just been more put forward recently, and I do utilize it in sometimes if I need to get an idea down or kind of conceptualize anything, then I can use AI for that. Or say for my captions because I love poetry, and a lot of my captions tell a story. Sometimes I've done a few captions where I've got an AI to prompt it, and it's been great. Like for that use, not a problem. And I think I'm never threatened by it because as much as people say that it might take over our jobs, and you know, why wouldn't a company just use AI to create a piece for themselves rather than commission an artist? It won't capture the emotion of what you want to get across. So I definitely believe that. Look, if someone came to me and said that I want a picture of my dad and my babaji or something like that, AI, I can wholeheartedly say that AI wouldn't portray that as well as an artist that understands that person, has spoken to that person, would be able to get across. What was the other one?
People copying
my work. You know what? It's happened, and I'm not worried about it. If anything, that's me inspiring other artists to experiment. Because the way that I learned my style and kind of like went into my own kind of field is by actually experimenting and learning from these other artists that I saw artworks of, and I was like, how can I do that? I have to kind of try and copy it, but then change it and make it my own. So I was never taught that style, you know. There's this book called How to Steal Like an Artist, and it's a great book.
I need to read that.
Yeah, it honestly, like I don't read many books now these days as well.
Is it all audio books?
No,
podcasts.
You know what? I just have Netflix and movies on in the background, and you know, the documentaries and stuff like that.
You know, like your creative space when you're doing things.
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
Is that
or music?
Yeah,
and that kind of just gets me into the zone. just stuff in the background or something to just like help aid that notion of my creative process. But yeah, that book basically, made me understand, and I think something that I already knew was that no matter if someone would try and do the same thing as me, or me do something like someone else has done already, you can never copy that individual's kind of process, like, because that's individually you making that, and it will never be the same. Which I think is quite special, because no matter how much someone tries to do something exactly the same as me, whatever it is, it's never exactly the same, but it's still beautiful because it's in their own way. If they copied everything exactly to the T, then yes, it's not right, because there's copyrights involved, intellectual property,
Sure.
which is things that I've had to learn myself. Like I've had to learn by own experience of when I was younger as an artist, inspired by many other artists, copying works and potentially doing it better than them. I don't know, maybe that's why it rubbed them the wrong way. And not to be egotistical in that sense, but I think it's just that that was me just showing that I've got a passion for it, and also knowing that my ability is there as well.
Just going back to the music, sometimes the remix is better than the original song, and then like the people have done the remix, and then the original singer of the song gets upset. And you're like, hang on, you're still promoting your work as well at the same time. I also noticed your tattoos. Like, how much pressure did the tattooist have doing an artist?
You know what? Big up to my tattoo artist. I've been with him since I was 18 years old.
Okay.
His name's Devinda. He's an up and out as well, and he's great. From Inspirations Tattoo Studio. I've always given him like references of my work, and he's banged it out. Like I've never had to worry about his ability as an artist as well. And even if he was unsure about something, he'd ask me, and I'm literally like, just don't worry. I'm very free flow, I'm very chill. So yeah, as he's done great work on me. So and it's all my own artwork. So there's no worry about it has to look a certain way because it's someone else's piece or whatever it is. But one of the biggest honors that I've had like over time. There's probably a handful of people in the world that have my artwork tattooed on them as well, and they've asked me, and or some have surprised me, and it's a weird feeling because I've never expected anyone to get my artwork tattooed on them, but it's probably one of the biggest honors that I can get from someone saying that I want this to live on my body, So,
I even with my pieces I've had. They are from like a particular artist like Sikh art that I've had on, and I've told them, and then I've gone to the tattoo artist, so Darren Wright, he does my stuff. I've gone to see him, and then like he'll put his little own spin on it. And so I said, sometimes people want the exact thing, and he was like, you should never have the exact thing. I said, why is that? And it goes as a tattooist, he goes, I'm putting my energy on you. So there's two sources of energy, one from the original, the inspiration, one from him, and it's always never going to be exactly the same. So the fact that if you accept that concept that it won't be the same, and then that will always live on. And I never thought about it that way, that somebody's putting their energy, your energy on their body as well at the same time. And it's very addictive, though, isn't it?
Absolutely, no, of course. I know it's an
you going up there. I'm going up there. Wow. Which was the most painful part?
Middle of the neck, probably.
Adam's apple.
Around here, This is quite sharp. The rest I fell asleep.
Soldier.
It was peaceful.
So, like in terms of like your piece of work, your art is kind of fairly well documented down. What are the other areas that you kind of use to unwind and move away from it? Because this could be quite labor intensive.
Absolutely.
It could be creatively intensive and exhausting. What else do you do in terms of like how to kind of move away from it? You used to do podcasts, right? You used to do a podcast as well?
I used to, not for a long time, but I wouldn't say that was an escape as such. I think if I was ever overwhelmed with work and looking at a screen most of the time, which is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I've now learned to take breaks and step away from it if I need to, more often than I used to. I like going on drives. I go out on my motorbike sometimes. I'll play dol. I'll make music, play piano sometimes if I feel like it. These are still little creative outlets. Then again, saying driving, yeah, there's too many. I can't go out in my car without encountering someone that just.
Okay, hang on. So
then it's aggravating.
So you get the peace in doing this.
Basically,
stuff.
I can't get the Arja Sonia feel.
Yeah. And then the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
The yang in this case is your road rage, yeah.
A little bit, yeah. Listen, I have a certain amount of patience, and especially like art teaches me patience very well because the process means that I have to have that because I can never rush it. So nowadays I'm never in a rush. You know, maybe my underglow sets people off in my car, so that's probably what it is.
Yeah. So then, with the podcast game, what was it in terms of like?
So you know, like during lockdown, everyone wanted to start a podcast, and so I think it was a couple of my colleagues from I'm not going to call them colleagues, they're my mates from Dol in Imperial Drummers, and we decided that we just want to make a podcast because we're pretty chatty. We talk about normal everyday stuff, especially the industry as well, the Dol industry, the Bhangra industry. So these are all subjects and things that we wanted to talk about. We did well for a little bit, but then I think after a while I realized that there's certain friendships that are more important than having a podcast, and it wasn't worth having the podcast instead of the friendships being natural and genuine.
I think it's a really good point, and I've said it before in terms of like the misconceptions that people have in terms of like, we've got an amazing WhatsApp group. Imagine if this was a podcast, it would be brilliant. Everyone could jump in.
Yeah.
Always kind of, it reminds me of Chris Moyles. When he used to have his team around, he used to hear it all the time. He used to think, imagine if I was one of their mates. It'd be, it'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
And then you're just thinking, well, it wouldn't really. It's not the actual.
You know what it is? I realise when the mic's in front of you and the cameras are rolling, it's not always as natural and genuine as you'd think. People
are guarded.
Yeah, and also I'm very much a kind of person that very much trusts what he says. I don't need to re-record things or anything like that. And sometimes this happened because there were some disagreements. And naturally, but I think this is what podcasts are for. Yeah,
it's a conversation, isn't it? Like, you ain't going to get everything right.
Yeah, and you're never going to say the right thing as well all the time. Sometimes some people like to be a bit more careful with what they say, and some.
Were you the editor as well? Did you have to do the
editing? We shared that.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say because then you got more sway of saying what you should be on there.
Perhaps I was editing more of them. Yeah. I don't know. Some others might disagree.
I think if a lot of people obviously starting to know about and they're doing their own social media stuff.
Yeah.
The key is editing.
Yeah.
If you're able to edit well.
Yeah.
And use some of the newer technologies coming in.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
I just think my other kind of misconception around it is the kind of fame and the money that people think that comes along with it.
Yeah.
And I just don't. I don't think that exists.
The thing is, that will come with anything. Like, if you just stick to it and don't think about the money, regardless, the money will come and go, throughout the process. But I think when people go into something, especially, newer artists, this is a great way to explain it, because I've seen so many amazing, talented artists, but they get onto Instagram or they show off their work for the sake of for the wrong reason, basically. They want the engagement, they want the following, they want that validation. And they expect it right away. Some people want that overnight success kind of feel, because they want that, they want to be fueled by that. And unfortunately, that's not the truth. I've been on Instagram for over 10 years, and it's changed so much. I've seen it change so much.
Well, the algorithm does as well.
Exactly. And now I've stopped looking at it because numbers can affect you mentally quite a lot.
I mean, there's another artist I don't really want to say because I don't want to kind of get him into trouble or reignite stuff. And that. But there's been stuff where there's been a controversial piece. Governments have got involved. All these. Do you get? Are you threatened by that? Because obviously, we're all at some point a slave to the algorithm.
Yeah.
And when your social media platform becomes a source of income.
Yeah.
For your family.
Yeah.
you have to be a little bit careful in terms of some of the stuff. Does that play a part in your thinking of when you're deciding to do a work or you're getting commissioned to do a piece of work?
I'd say I think you're more so talking about the kind of control that Instagram and these social media platforms have, and I've experienced that too, where I did a piece that I felt like was very powerful, empowering as well for females, and I think I shared this around the time there was a lot of protests happening in India, and 2 months after I uploaded this piece where it had so much love, so much support and appreciation from the whole community, not just females, but it had got removed. And I had this threat on, like, I woke up to my Instagram saying that my page is at risk of getting deleted because I've been reported by X amount of people in a different country or whatever it is. I've been reported for the imagery that I was using, which was apparently sexual and explicit, which it wasn't. And Instagram definitely has accounts that do have that kind of content, but because they have millions of followers, they're absolutely fine. They're allowed to do that. You know, no one reports them, and even if they get reported, they don't get taken down. Unfortunately, mine got taken down, and it was a very powerful piece. And I ended up reporting it to Meta and Facebook, kind of like higher boards and stuff like that, and had to explain to them throughout this whole process.
Did they agree with you?
I got no response twice. It was unresponded to and thrown to the side because it wasn't important. But even though I explained and expressed the importance of what it means to our community and why it was taken down as well, because I think that I have this assumption that it was reported by a lot of people in India, etc., like men especially, who were trying to suppress a lot of artists that were doing like empowering artwork. Yeah. Especially around the time of the farmers' protest as well. There was nothing I could do. Like I did the most I could. I made a whole thing about it. I reposted it as well at the risk of my Instagram getting deleted, and I would have made a point out of it. I don't fear.
Did that get removed as well the second time?
That got removed quicker than the 2 months one. The same piece, and I did it to make a statement. You know, so yeah, I'm not worried whether my Instagram gets taken down or not. If I portray things for the sake of a genuine, good reason, I will do it. Yeah, and I think because I've detached myself from my social media and worrying about what I post, I nowadays just post and stop thinking about the numbers. Every day I'm losing followers, whether I'm doing the right thing or not, you know. So regardless, I've now kind of come to terms with the fact that it's my artwork. It's there as a platform for me to share it. Whoever sees it gets to see it, whether it's there, whether they see it or not. It's okay. Like, it's a blessing whoever does get to see it, and you know.
So, like, moving it forward now in terms of, you know, you've just come from doing workshops and teaching. Is that another avenue going down, or kind of a legacy thing, or?
You know what? It's not something I get to do often, but when I do get the opportunity to go into schools and let's say exhibitions where I can be present, and I do try and be present because I don't feel like anyone else can represent my work for me. I want to be there myself, because anyone has any questions or wants to ask me why I've done something a certain way, I'm the one that can explain it because it's my process, my mindset. And also I like to let people think about it themselves as well. I very much welcome those opinions. But yeah, no, whenever I do get these opportunities, I love to go and actually speak and share the knowledge that I do have of, you know, being a self-employed Indian male artist over the course of 15 years plus. There's things I've learned, and you know, I've come across different types of clients and gone through the hardships of people stealing artwork and legal stuff to do with the art kind of industry as well. There's a lot for me to share. So if I can ever encourage like younger artists and people that want to get into a creative future and career, I can tell them it's absolutely possible, but I'll also tell them the goods and the bads, you know, because it goes hand in hand with anything these days. Like, you know what, if someone asks me what I do and I say that I'm an artist full time, they go under the assumption that I wake up and I get to draw for a living, which is amazing.
Yeah, well, straight away, have your cornflakes.
Yeah,
go
exactly.
Back on the computer.
Yeah, but it's not that. The reality is that some mornings I'll struggle to have the motivation to get on, to be creative and switch on in that way. I need my coffee, or sometimes I can't force the creativity.
Yeah.
And some days just have to be a chill day and a bit of...
Is it, this might be the stupidest question, so I apologise in advance.
No, please.
Is there a particular model of a computer that suits you, or screens or anything like that? So people who want to get into this,
Yeah.
is there surely someone from Apple or some one of these big ones have tapped you up and say, I will sponsor you and do all this?
You know what, I wish. Nah, they haven't. Listen, I want a monster sponsor. They haven't done that yet.
I'm trying to stimulate the market here.
Yeah, Apple.
Yeah.
No, I use a Apple MacBook Pro. I think it's a 2019, and it's a custom one because I never always had that. But my first kind of laptop that I used to work on was like a HP, and it's different for everyone. Like, you need to know your tools and what works for you. For me, this is what's worked for me. But I had a Wacom tablet in the past, which is a digital tablet which I draw on. So I do my sketch work on that, and then use Photoshop to like turn it into the pieces that I make. But yeah, so my initial setup, which was an earlier MacBook that I had, and a hard drive, my Wacom tablet. Bit of a darker story, but a big turning point in my career, in my life. My car got broken into, and all that work got stolen by I don't know who. Apparently, people on motorbikes. And I remember feeling I didn't know how to feel, because that's my current commission work, stuff that probably isn't backed up over 10 years of work that I should have had backed up and kept safer. So this was...
So you lost all that work?
I lost all of that. So...
And did you ever try to recreate it? Or obviously it's not going to be the same, but...
Yeah. It's a thing. I think there's certain pieces that I kind of let be, because if they weren't meant to exist, they weren't meant to exist. And I think that was a bit of a hard pill to swallow, because realizing at that time that I woke up without expecting to come home that day without any of my stuff. I felt like my livelihood is gone. But I had very good people around me, my friends and my family, that helped me understand. And it took me months to understand and come back from this, that the talent I have and what I'm capable of doing, regardless of the equipment that I have, that can be bought again. My talent can't be. You know, I can still do what I can do and even better now, you know, and so I had to make that comeback. And people on my socials understood what had happened as well, and obviously it's not a nice feeling. So yeah, I had to, you know, I feel like the world kind of, and the universe sends you a sign sometimes, and sometimes it's not the nicest sign. This was a bit of a slap in the face to be like, you're getting too complacent. No, and I wrecked my mind thinking, oh, what if I didn't go park in this specific spot at this day or whatever it is. No matter where I was that night, wherever I chose to park my car, wherever I chose to go, whoever I chose to meet, however long I was gone for, something would have happened to tell me in that moment that I need to sort my shit out, you know, because I was getting too complacent. Luckily, and again, this is the universe doing its thing, throughout that whole year before that happened to me, I was very fortunate that I had a lot of jobs on. I saved up pretty well, and because of that, I'm very grateful I got to then buy the stuff that I bought, that I use now, a custom MacBook Pro, etc. And I worked on my style, and the stuff that you see now is like what I came back with, like, and I came back hard. I was like, you know what, the setback is one thing, but the comeback is bigger, you know. And I feel like that was a big transition point in my career, and having to deal with knowing that there's certain things I need to do now. I need to, it's a big learning curve. Having trackers everywhere, having my work on me all the time, making sure that I have backups, cloud backups and backups of backups, you know, so that this never happens again. So yeah, big learning curve for me. And it sounds weird, but when I tell people I'm glad it happened, now I can say that. At the time, obviously, I felt different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very, very grateful for my friends at the time that helped me out doing that, you know, because I felt demotivated. I felt like, you know, someone just took something without thinking about how it would affect someone else. So
I mean, I think it's quite common, especially when I get to do kind of in-depth and longer discussions with people, or especially being successful.
yeah,
Is that the lessons in the struggle that's coming, and
which people don't see
exactly.
often.
And then when people come back from it and say, like, well, you don't realise what it's taken to get to there. It's all
Absolutely. Yeah.
Instagram versus reality, isn't it? In that way.
Yeah.
And
which is why I love to
bringing
be
it up.
transparent.
Yeah.
Because if someone was to ask me, I would tell them that story. You know, I'll tell them a story of when I was at uni and I had what my parents were paying for me to be at university, and 3 months during my last year at uni, I couldn't create. I felt like I lost my spark, and I felt shit because I was like, why am I just sitting in my room? My sleep was all over the place. I had no motivation, and one random morning, I remember I finished, like at 6 a.m. I finished watching The Pursuit of Happiness, and it's one of my favorite movies because I got up at like 6 a.m., went for a run in the cold, got my eyebrow pierced, and was like, you know what, I'm back. Like, I'm feeling it. You know, something happened that day, but this is why I say that uni was an experience for me to have to learn that about myself, that, you know, like going through a creative block is absolutely normal. A burnout is normal, but now to realize why that happened and how to get myself out of it, what I needed to feed my soul a little bit, I had to feel that, you know.
I find it strange though, like when we talked about university and you said you mentioned that you got a third as a kind of an identifying factor of it, where it completely isn't in terms of what you're discussing within there.
Yeah.
You know, labeling ourselves in ways that could be taken as debilitating.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it isn't.
Yeah.
Why do you think we do that?
I'd love to say it's to help us push further. But for most, I feel like some don't have that resilience in them. And I think if you are truly passionate about something, no matter what the circumstance is or what you've been judged, like how you've been judged or something like that, should never hinder your progress in the future. You know, so that passion should outrise everything else, and regardless, that will remain.
I mean, you weren't doing necessarily. I think we're probably the last of the generation of Asians, so to speak, doing traditional sort of doctor, you know, dentist, optician.
Yeah.
How was your parents' reaction that you were going down this pathway, or your family's one? Were they encouraging it, or was it always something that you had to kind of approve? Because you said something there which hit home to me. So when I was at university, my mum and dad had to take out loans in order to get me through, and you know, comparable to some of my friends and other people that were there who were literally just there to kind of holiday and couldn't really care. They had dad's business or the shop or something to carry on with. It puts that sort of pressure on you. Were they encouraging of that, considering that they, you know, there's financial risk around it?
It was a weird one because I don't think I ever properly understood as well, like what they felt about me doing it. I think there was like when I was doing my A-levels, etc., and I already knew by that point that this is something I wanted to pursue. My dad wasn't necessarily happy about it, and my mum showed support in certain ways and aspects. Like, it's funny because my dad first bought me my iMac, and he was like, "You need this to do your artwork," in it, and I was like,
Because you could be
Yeah,
because
but
you could
I
be.
don't want you to spend that much money on me. You
Was he
don't have
hoping that in the back of his mind that you'd be an architect?
to. Maybe, maybe, or a pilot or something. I don't know. But it's funny because even like even now when I get certain orders, my mum will show love and support by helping me pack orders. She won't necessarily ask me what I'm working on or how much I'm making, etc. She just knows I'm doing something.
Yeah.
My dad, so much he probably he doesn't ask too many questions, but also I don't know whether he doesn't know how to change his background on his iPhone, but it's one of my pieces, one of my early pieces, like a Maharani and like a Mughal style Maharani, and I just look at it.
That's the only legal way he can actually, without getting into trouble from his wife. It's my son's. He's got a picture of another woman on his phone. Is that what you're trying to confirm?
No. Yeah. It's just like it's like a Maharani holding a bird. Yeah. It's one of my early Mughal pieces, which is cool because when I see it, I'm like, okay, he has my artwork on there. But it's very much like it's typical when, cousins come around and friends come around and stuff, and then they're like, oh yeah, Vik made this and Vik done this for Gurdasman and Vik did this for Marvel, and they'll big me up all then, but then they can never say it to me, because I think that's the thing with Apne. I think they're always proud, but it's like they'll never say it to your face. It's only when you're around them. It's like the thing of like when I was younger, when I used to play doll, they were like, get the doll out,
Yeah, I used to get that, everyone. My dad used to say anyone used to come around like rested hard and that. Oh yeah, they keep all on that. Like go. You'd get the call from you going to a normal party and that. Make sure you're invited. Make sure you bring your doll. And you're like, hang on, what's going on? Do you ever have you had the actual desi trait of, go on then, do one for me?
Yeah, all the time, and I'm like, cool, yeah, I can invoice you, pay me.
Right. So that's your go-to, innit? So we can do it, and that is going to cost you this much.
Yeah, but you know what it is, like, even if someone truly appreciated it, whether it's family or not, they should never make that kind of joke, I think, now these days, because it's not even that. It's just like a joke. It's like I will joke back to you, and you probably won't like my response.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to take you seriously. Unfortunately, because if throughout my whole career I've struggled for people to take me seriously in the first place with certain clients that, let's say, pre-beard and pre-tattoos, I wasn't taken so seriously. And I think once I started putting my foot down with certain people, whether they're friends or family or whatever it is, now when they say, let me know how much it is, bless, I'm cool with that. Or say even if you can't afford it, just be honest. I'm okay with that, because maybe at a certain point I might,
It's difficult though, isn't it?
Yeah, because when it comes to work, it's work for me. It's not a hobby, Obviously it's fun and I love it, and I would do it whether I get paid or not. But the fact that I'm doing it as it is my living, I'm not taking I'm not doing freebies.
No, I get it, man. Even with this as well, sometimes like somebody will message you and you got to say, you're on the radar. I'll work my way to you, and you're trying to be polite and that, saying, well, some people might not, because ultimately you've got to own the essence of what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think if you kind of pander too much, I've always had this struggle with the podcast, and I think you've explained it really well with yours, where always remember the origin of why you're doing it, and the energy of that would always take you far.
Yeah.
If you start dilly-dallying and doing this, it won't work out, because you could get the wrong guest or the wrong person who you're commissioning for, and you might just not get any inspiration out of it. It would be dead.
If something doesn't align, you can't force that to work.
Do you turn it down then? So, like, for example, if somebody's come up to you, they're big, blah blah blah, and you just can't get anything, you can't connect.
You know what? I've turned down Shivas
Whiskey
for a project. Yeah.
Wow.
They wanted a commission piece to promote their drink bottles and stuff, like designer bottle. to promote it to a younger audience, because Chivas is seen as that old man drink, you know, the whiskey. I don't drink. I haven't drank in about 9 years. People will make assumptions that I do or whatever it is because of how I look, but I think that's I'm often used to being judged in that way. So I'll just explain to people I don't. So I'm absolutely fine with that. And they were willing to pay good money, especially at the time. It would have been great for me to do, but because it didn't align with my morals of doing so, I turned it down respectfully. And next man will probably say you're an idiot for doing that, you know. But I'll stick to my guns, and I trust if something feels right, I'll do it. If I don't align with a client, and no, I think I'm better with judging how a client is, and the way they talk, their responsiveness, their demeanors, and I think not to be judgy, but I'm very observant, and I think that plays a big part in kind of like me knowing that now I work with clients that get me, you know, they respect, there's a mutual respect, and also they don't expect things from me that are out of question.
Yeah.
So.
Because our paths have crossed once before, when you were doing a piece around the BBC, for the BBC around the alcohol.
Yeah.
And I was in that interview as well at the same time. I saw your artwork was there to accommodate around. So I know you feel very strongly about certain topics and that. Do you feel there's things out there that you want to do and you don't think you can't?
No, I think if I really wanted to, I will. And whether it has been to uphold females as well as males, not just females, both are important. There's importance around male mental health as well.
Yeah.
So portraying men as maharajas and addressing the whole alcoholism subject as well, because it is a big factor that is played in our community and many other communities as well. So I think if there was a topic or subject that had to be represented, one being recently the Palestine protests that are going on, and the farmers' protests that are going on, I did pieces on those when it felt right that I understood enough, not just because someone said you should do this.
Jumping on the bandwagon.
Exactly, and especially when certain well-known iconic people have passed away, there are a plethora of artists that would jump on that and just do artwork on them just for the sake of because they passed away, and I don't believe in that either. I would do those artworks, and I have done, of let's say Kobe, Sidhu, Nipsey Hussle, those kind of people and names, because the people around me respected them and it meant something to them. Not just because, not for the social trend. I wouldn't do it for that. So yeah, I think that's me understanding that this is what feels right for me. My gut feeling tells me that I should do something or shouldn't. But if there was a larger topic at hand and it was less about me, I will happily push towards that, because it's the right thing to do. I'm not afraid of what people will say.
Vic, you just talked about bandwagons, and it's a natural segue for my kind of final question. This is the bandwagon. Is there a bandwagon that you'd like to jump on? Is there a bandwagon you'd like to jump off? Or is there anything that you want to get off your chest? This is your space to do so.
Oh, we might be here for a while.
That's good.
Interesting. You know what? I've never thought about this. What do people often say?
So some of the common ones that I've had is, I think, the impact of kind of like social media on mental health. I think a few others have said about particular topics that are going on, or a person, or they say now that that meme that's flying around.
Yeah.
That could be anything. I mean, some people just kind of say I'm fine.
Yeah.
Some people just go on and just carry on. I think it's interesting though, because if you go to an interview or having an interview, you might have a preconceived idea that
Yeah.
I want to get this off my chest, but the question, there isn't an avenue to get that out.
Yeah.
So this is the space where you're like thinking, is there something at this particular moment, that's a burning desire that you just want to say, right, I want to get it out. But if you feel it's complete, that's fine as well.
You know what? I love to live in the moment, so I don't often think about the future too much and like what I believe there should exist or shouldn't. But I wish people kind of slowed down a little bit and stopped kind of like just overexerting themselves in everything, TikTok and social, and seeing that, dying about like celeb culture and worrying about like saying like, oh, this is goals, and this is what they, you know, they're like feeding into what other people are doing. People are worrying about less worrying about themselves, and paying attention to things that aren't really important. I think it's hard to explain it because I just see it too much on social media, like people feeding into like, oh my God, the Met Gala and all the outfits that everyone's wearing. Wow. I'm like, okay, that's not appealing to me, and it's a bit naff to me. I think a little bit. I get the creative aspect to it, and someone who I guess doesn't know me, so knows me as an artist, would say you would love this because, you know, it's expressive and it's different and it's live. I don't know. It doesn't vibe with me. I don't know. I personally, I wear black and every day is simple, you know, like I like that kind of like be yourself, natural vibe, not trying to be someone else. Yeah. I think people need to these days own their own shit a little bit and just try not to be. People are trying to be someone else all the time and worrying about what other people are doing. Worry about yourself a little bit. Give yourself some time. I think that's what it is.
Perfect. Thank you very much, man.
No, of course,
I
man.
really appreciate you coming down and taking your time out and being on the podcast. Please, everybody, get following, big him up, and it's really important that we celebrate people who are trailblazing in new styles of any kind of niche markets, and celebrating their diversity, celebrating their skills, and we should be championing and promoting this to as many people as we can. So Vic, just from me to you, thank you very much.
Pleasure, man. Thank you.
See you later. But yeah.
Sick.